Good morning, and good morning. All right, I didn't get a chance to set it up on Facebook and YouTube like I usually do. I mean, it's on there and it's running, but for some reason, I don't know, I hit the button too fast on staging it, so it didn't show up early. But today, our word is phrontistary. Phrontistary. What kind of word is that? Um, I'm a person that's always studying. If I'm not reading, I'm going to be writing. If I'm not reading or writing, I'm thinking, I'm doing something. And that's in between doing all the other stuff that I do. So the word just really kind of grabbed hold of me yesterday. But I had so much to do. My car had been in the shop, and they gave me this this wonderful BMW 2024 with all the bells and whistles, and they were trying to tempt the girl, but no temptation could be dealt with. I said, no, I'm going to keep my car. But it was the newer one model is certainly so much nicer. But sometimes you have to realize that you can't take on everything that you see. You must just move on with it. And that's exactly what I did. I took it back yesterday. Finally, they got my car ready to be picked up. And then I went to a few events downtown, which were really good. My Rotary meeting was excellent. And after my Rotary meeting, I went to the Equity Project Alliance, in which they looked at they call them story slams. And I did a story slam for them in October, but they came around. They're going to have another one in April. That'll be their third, but I was a part of their first group that went through. And it's just giving a brief, timed account of an experience that you had where maybe you felt there was a change that came on. There was something that happened to you that all of a sudden, change came and you knew what to do with it. So, anyway, today's word is promissory, and it's just promissory but it's spelled differently now. Obviously, it has that ph sound, but it's called promissory, and it's an interesting word, And I was looking for a poem that kind of went with it, and what I came up with is a poem by Keisha Shepherd. And it says, I spot a deer in the meadow, graceful and gentle creature, a passerby this sunlit morning, grazing on the tall shoots of blue stem and Queen Anne's lace. Says she interrupts the three crows, my usual company, mining for worms and other edibles under the elms. It says her intrusion disrupts their routine forage and sets them off. Now they are gone. All have scattered through the fields to finish what they had started. Isn't that us? Sometimes don't we do that where we end up in a place where, our peace is disrupted, but other times we find our peace in places that we don't want anybody else to come into. It may be a place in our house, a place where we study, a place when we learn. It may be when we're getting, a lesson from somebody, be it private lesson on learning how to play guitar or piano, or learning how to write a good message, a good note. Or it might be in an institution such as our learning institutions, the university, a college, something. But anyway, that's the point of what frontistery is. It's all about understanding the significance of where we study, where we learn, what we do along the way with what we're learning. Um, I am a proponent of study. I don't know. Are you? Are you that kind of person where you don't realize that sometimes you want to go into your study? It may even be in your bedroom. Some people love to go and just cut themselves off from the rest of the company in the house, their husbands, their children, their wives, anybody, and they just are there to learn something. One of the things that I've been doing is reading up a lot about dementia and, what it does to our brains, what happens at the brain, atrophies, and they said that happens the same thing with Alzheimer's, where all of a sudden we lose our ability to form connections between what we can do and all of a sudden we can't do it, or it may not be all of a sudden, it may be a sudden, not a sudden thing, but a gradual ongoing thing that we lose our abilities. And so one of the things I practice daily is to learn something I did not know. So I did not know this word, PHRONTISTERY, PHRONTISTERY, a different kind of word, okay? But it says it's a place for thinking, for studying, for learning. It says it's the Greek phrontisterion, from the Phrontistites, philosophers, deep thinkers, persons with intellectual pretensions. Basically, it is to say that you're going to learn because you want to learn. You're not waiting for anyone else. You're not looking after anyone else to maybe teach you, even though they may be the catalyst. They may start it off, because every once in a while you listen to somebody and they say something or they do something which makes you want to study that, learn more about it. How do I do that? How did she do that? How did he do that? We ask ourselves those questions. So some examples of places that would be this phrontistery is, the library. It says a reading room could be considered a phrontistery. It says it's a lookout spot, could be a natural phrontistery for hikers. Have you ever gone on a hike and you just get caught up in what's out there, how it looks, how the beauty of it? I remember when I lived in Europe, everywhere I went, I wish I'd had, like a phone camera like I have now. But back in the day, they didn't have no phone cameras. It was like an old, little camera that you buy at the store and you take it to be developed. And I did that. And I had some good pictures. I had probably a few pictures that were great. I remember having pictures of Paris and pictures of Rome that were great. In fact, I was in the Vatican taking pictures and, the police, the Carabinieri said, "Excuse me." No. So I stopped, but he didn't confiscate my camera. He could have, but he didn't. So sometimes we have opportunity to learn something because we're in a place temporarily. And so if we don't capture it, we don't know it. And then if we don't investigate it, we may forget it. So I'm all about trying out. What else can I learn? How can I do this? So another place they said, it says a synagogue could offer this phrontistery for a certain grade level. Just understanding that they come to this place and they're able to learn things about, Christianity or Catholicism or whatever it is. But there's a way for it to be done. And it says, schools, libraries, parks, museums, university, colleges, and institutions of basically higher learning, conservatory. Good morning, Maurice. Hi. I don't know what happened that I didn't make sure it was scheduled at 9, but I'm saying maybe they'll remember I'm on at 9, but thank you for doing that. Hey, Cheryl there. Oh, y'all coming in. Thank you. But, our word is just an unusual word. If you got a pencil, write it down. PHRONTISTERY. Phrontistery. And it is basically a word that just says I'm going to study in a place that I like to study. I'm going to learn in a place that I like to learn from or learn in. Halls of knowledge, they also call phrontisteries, vocation schools, training schools, private schools, tutoring, All those are considered to be places of where learning and studying can take place, but it may be off the grid of being kind of normal for you, or it might be the normal place. Like for me, I love going to the library. When I was working on my doctorate, I was there all the time. In fact, sometimes I had to get out of my house because I would see what I was neglecting in my house because I was studying, and I couldn't manage it all. But, I wasn't living in filth or anything. I did the basics. I made sure everything was clean in the bathroom and in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of other paper, I had papers and books everywhere, but it's over now. I was in the library. I bet you were, Maurice. Yes, I bet you were. So it says when we break this word down, we're going to come up with some other words, which to me gives us essence and kind of credence to understanding the significance of frontistery. So anyway, I say that when we're looking at frontistery, we're looking at what's private. Private meaning private to you. And private in this instance could also mean certain schools. Those are schools that are funded without, money from any federal or state, interjection. It's just not coming from them. Okay. The money are basically coming from personal parenting, opportunities. They just bringing the money in themselves on wanting what school they want their children to be schooled at. So it says a private institution may be a school supported financially by private organizations, because sometimes there's a board that come together to assemble money, or it's private individuals rather than by government. It says it's an independent school. It could be a parochial school. It could be a day school or even a seminary, but they're not generally going to be funded by, the federal or the state system of any sort, or even locally. It's usually a private school, almost like they say they have like private charter schools, and sometimes they even have public charter schools, but the money is where it's generated from and where it comes from. So I have two P's though. For some reason, I not only had private, but I also had peace. I find that if you are really studying in a place that is considered a frontistery, you're really looking at it being a place of peace. And it says freedom from disquieting, meaning if somebody's making noise, they're not in the library. If somebody's making noise or the TV is on or whatever, that's probably not your place to study. It's neat. And let me put it this way, it's not mine. I really don't have on the TV and all of that when I'm studying. It says, but it basically looks at how well you're situated to be in a peaceful environment with serenity and calm and ease. It may be a period in a time of tranquility for you. You have your own comfort, your relief, and it says it's your content, meaning you're comfortable where you're at. You're content on getting whatever it is that you have to get done. And that's what that would be. We move on the word. So it's PH. My H is for, it's a place, what I call a hall of knowledge or halls of knowledge, meaning not just one place can be a place to learn. There's a lot of places, as in college, schools, associations, institutions, organizations, seminaries. It says also halls of ivory and your alma mater. If you've gone on to school, they always have an alma mater. Good morning, Ardelia. How are you? Today, our word, you always like I'm going to say a good word, a different word. Today's word is spelled PHRONTISTERY, frontistery. And frontistery, however you put wherever you want to put the accent, it basically is dealing with a quiet place to learn. You're going to learn someplace. You're going to get some information. So it says that so far we've done, I did private, Usually private institutions will have that. Also, finding peace. That means if you're studying, it's going to be peaceful. Now we're on the H. I have halls of knowledge, which are any of your schools that you've ever been to. They usually have quiet places. We used to have those rooms where you could go into them and study. Or after school, they used to have study hall, and it was good as long as you weren't forced to go to it, such as you had done something wrong. But if you're able to just have the say, okay, I got an hour before my folks come to pick me up, I'm going to study. That's a good thing to do. So that would be anytime the halls of knowledge. Then we want to look at our R, which is resources. And our resources, to me, is any opportunity that we have that gives us time to accomplish what we intend to do. And if it's learning is what we intend to do, then, what are you doing in that hour? Are you reading something that's related to say you have to write a paper? Are you reading some things that might add to your input on your paper and being used? So that would be resourcing. So I would look at that time of being in my way of goodness for me completing another project. And it says when we're looking at resources, we're looking at what time we're using, what's available to us, what books we found, what conversations we had, because I think you can also study by listening to other people. What else is out there? What are they doing? Okay. My O, as we move on in our word of frontistery, is orientation. And the orientation is a state of fact of facing in a particular direction. Sometimes you can go into a room to learn, and if the direction of where you're seated isn't right, you can't stay there. I don't like my back to a door when that's just me. I don't know. I'm from New York. I'm sorry. But I don't like my back to the door. So I like to sit where I can see the door in my peripheral if I have to look that way. But generally speaking, I'm still, conscious of where I'm at, what I'm doing. So I like my orientation. For me, for my learning and me to be comfortable, I have to decide where I'm going to sit in the room. That's me. And no, I'm not the one that goes to the park. That is not a place for me to make my way of learning. I like driving through and all of that, but I don't want to just sit in the park and do that. I got to admit, I've never done it. I'm usually just a room person. I'm going to be somebody that just sits around. It says Carney is the same way with seating. That's right. You have to be comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, then I don't know how much you're really learning, if you're not in a comfortable position. So orientation talks about your personal alignment with the area that you're in, your arrangement, your exposure to whatever it is that you're trying to learn, or even your exposure to whoever else might be trying to talk to you. I've gone to places and people want to talk to me and I want to learn. So that means that sometimes I've had to even get up and leave and go someplace else, or even just come home, leave the place that's considered to be private. Public meaning it's available to me, but not so private. It was intended for me to be in that room, but somebody else came in and said, hey, I have a question for you. There it is. Okay. Orientation is also exposure, what you're being exposed to, what you're learning. We move on in our word of frontistery. We talk about the nature, and the nature is a set of qualities that makes a person or a group feeling a certain way. To me, if I'm learning something, I don't want any distractions. I want what I'm learning to be, able to be learned. And generally what I do is I'm a note taker. So I go to meetings all the time, and I can look around and I find notes from where I've been, I don't necessarily take notes on who was there and all of that. I'm taking notes on what was said. If it's significant, I may write down a name, but for the most part, that's what I'm doing. So the nature talks about it being, it's your own self nature. You understand what it is. It may be your personality, how you like to learn. It may be the constitutional makeup of you. Maybe you're small in stature. Maybe you have some weight on you, so you're not really intimidated by what comes at you in terms of information or the people that bring it. It also talks about characteristics, your own personal traits, your temperament. Because I feel if you're a person that's learning, at some point, you're reduced to a student, because you don't know it. So what you're learning becomes what you can write down and say, well, I've read this here. Or if you're referencing it in a book, from a book, then it would be according to, or it would be at all, et, and then al, period. And that means that there's several people who might have contributed to the same thought that you have. So that's how you would do it. That's how you would look at putting your nature into understanding what others are teaching, or you're learning through reading, or it might be from what you're seeing. As we move on in our word, we talk about time. I don't believe any of us can ever learn anything if we don't put in some time. We have to. Time is important. I don't think anyone can ever say that they were given a degree of significance and it came in the mail and you put in 10 hours on it. That's not a degree. It's a certificate that says that you paid for something, but it's not a degree. The degree is something you're going to work on. They're not going to give you a high school diploma if you didn't put in all the number of hours you're supposed to put in and meet the requirements in terms of the academic, scrutiny or requirements that they say must be there. And that's with everything, like you don't get a driver's license unless you know how to drive, although some people you wonder, you do wonder what? So time is a particular point in which an event takes place. So if you are someone who studies and you like the idea of having, a PHRONTISTERY place of study, then that's your place. That's where you go to. Most people knew that when I was studying, I would put in like it was a job, 8 or 10 hours a day. This is after I left the regular job. Then I would go put in 8 or 10 hours of studying something else. Sometimes you have to realize that studying takes time, and time is a particular point at which events occur. It's the moments, it's the occasion, it's the minutes, it's the hours. It's maybe a twinkle in terms of what you receive, but the time you put into it is what the culmination is of, something you've earned, a degree, it may be certification, maybe licensure if you're in those kind of fields, you do the public no harm, those kinds of things. Those are all done because someone chose to study. Someone chose to have this thing called a place or, PHRONTISTERY, where they were able to get it all together. That was their place. So time is important. When we move on in our word, we would talk about intentional. I don't believe anybody can say that they unintentionally went to study. If you go to study, you intended to do it. There was some intention, applied and carried out if you actually show up and stay and learn. Okay. And sometimes it's hard to motivate ourselves. Let's face it. This is that thing of, well, I have a choice. I can stay or I can go. If you want something, generally, if you stay, you're more apt to get to the finish line. So intention says it's deliberate. You intended to do it. It says you were made to do it. You were given the opportunity to do it. You completed it. So ultimately it becomes a done thing. And it says it makes you fully aware of what it is that you've done and you're proud of it. So it says it's deliberate, it's conscious effort, it's voluntary. No one, let's face it, no one tells you to study. You have to want to study. So it's voluntary. It talks about it being willful, purposeful, knowing. How many knowing we knowingly want to do certain things, and then it says it's planned. And I used to plan my study areas and places and time, just like what I was going to eat for dinner. I've always done it, always. Oh, I gotta do this. And yesterday I did so many things. I was late in getting this online, like I usually have it, where it posts as a pre-post for Facebook, but I didn't get it on today, and I apologize for that. But it will still show up on Facebook. It just didn't show up as a pre-announcement like I usually do. My S, as I look at the word PHRONTISTERY, really talks about it being solaceness. When you are studying, there's a period of solaceness, meaning it's you and whatever you are learning. And sometimes it may be you, if you have somebody else that's working with you, it may be you and them learning something. Because how many of you ever did study groups? I would, especially if there was something I didn't know. When I took chemistry and statistics, I took it as my side after the group was that later on that night they were having study groups. I went to them. That's how I learned how to do those things that I had no interest in. I just wanted to sing and write. I didn't really want to know much about, math. But it comes in handy as you get older. You understand what the mean and the mode and all those kind of things are, and the significance for your own money. But anyway, it just lets you know that there's a reason for whatever you do. So solaceness is this feeling at ease that you've overcome. Once you've learned something, you would have less grief and less trouble once you realize you know how to do something that you didn't know how to do before. So it's a consolation. It's an encouragement for yourself. There's reassurance. When you know something, can't nobody take it from you, can they? Not at all. They can't. It's yours. It's your stuff. It says also it's an aid, and there's gladness to it. You realize I conquered something that was tough. I conquered something that was meaningful for me. Even if other people didn't think it was meaningful, it was what it meant to you. And so therefore, it gave you peace knowing that you were going to get through it. And when you got through it, as I said, it may come in a twinkle that you got through it, because I feel that once you've reached something, that's not the end. It's just the end of that. Other stuff will go on after that. I don't know. This morning I'm having still some trouble from that long time. I think it seemed like it's been a week, 2 weeks since I started this cold, but I'm not contagious. I've taken all the medicine. I've done everything I need to do. So it's just a residual of effect from all of that. My T is for how we become transformed. We become transformed if we're really looking at this whole idea of PHRONTISTERY. We're looking at that place that we are able to build up our knowledge level because we're learning. That's a place where we study. It says we're transformed, as in to be converted from one thing to another. We move from having less information to moving to having more information when we're done with each time we do this. And it says it becomes where we've been changed in form, and maybe sometimes even our appearance. No, it's not like Moses was coming back down. No, it's not like that. But we know that we are changed because we feel more capable of responding to areas that we have knowledge of. we can participate in those conversations. We can be a part of what else is going on. So anyway, it says that when we're transformed, we've been converted. And this conversion talks about it being, remodeled, transfigured. It says we've had a metamorphosis. We've been transposed, reworked, and altered. In that, and that's good stuff when we think about who we are. Every time we have an opportunity to learn something and we're doing it well, it's wonderful if we get there. If we get there. And I know many of you, like Cheryl, Ardelia, Maurice, I know you all have been through some things that you can look on the other side and say, well, thank you, Lord, or whatever word you use. Wow, I completed that. How wonderful is that? But you don't stop there. Then you have another task to take on something else. So the transformation may be that you've moved to a different level for yourself. But it doesn't mean that you stop working. You got to do something else. So the E, when you're in your area of frontistery, you're looking at this place that's going to help transfer, transform, translate information from whatever you're reading or whatever they're giving you to whatever you do with it, bringing it forward. Then you become enhanced. And once again, the word is PHRON. It's a long word. I'm sorry. TISTERY. And of course, that PH is like F. It's an F sound, like PHRONTISTEry. So, or it could be frontistory. Whatever you want to say it, you can go back. It's a difficult listen. So listen and listen and listen, and you'll decide how you want to treat it. But when we are enhanced, that means we've been improved, we've been enriched. There's a betterment about what it is that we feel capable of doing. What's that? Oh yeah, prayer up. That's right. Prayer. Yes. It says we're refined. How many of us can say that we've been refined from not knowing anything to learning something else, and then all of a sudden we're able to be a part of the conversations? That's one of the reasons that I do Are You Stuck? Is because we want to be able to not just, sing the song to ourselves, but sing it with others, have a conversation with others, be a part of a growing, view. Even if your view is different, you're still a part of the conversation. And that's what we're always looking at. So to be enhanced, it says we could be, more perfected, have an amendment on ourselves, meaning that we still came with good stuff, but we're going to learn some more stuff, which makes it better stuff. And our ability to be a part, once again, of the conversation. And then it says that we upgrade ourselves when we're able to go into these, and I almost call them like a silo. Frontistery could be like your own silo, a place where you go study, where you learn. Like I know a lot of people go to their prayer closets. They literally have a prayer closet. They go in their prayer closet. They read their Bible. They read their various scriptures that they want to do for the day. And then what they do is that they pray. They pray for whatever their needs are for that day. Or they might be praying for someone else. Praying for, right now the prayers are going up for California, North Carolina. You just think of all of the areas in the world, where there's strife, where there's pain, where there's hurt. Those opportunities are done where people are feeling a way where they can go off to themselves and learn something more. And as they say, study, make themselves qualified to be a part of conversations. So when we're enhanced, we're transformed, we have solace, we have, and we're intentional in terms of what we want to do. But then we go back down in our word and we talk about reason. What is our reason for learning? What is our reason for wanting to study? If we have a reason, then it makes sense. If we have a reason, then it also says that we're more apt to stay with it. If it's someone else's reason, or we're just trying to get through the rigors of a program, It may come and go. We may do all of the necessary steps to get through the program. But in regards to the reason that we wanted it in the first place remains consistent and solid in our head, in our heart, we're going to make something with it. We're going to do something with it. So the reason says, as an explanation, a statement given to explain a belief or an act, meaning that's what I want to do, and I can always speak on myself because, and when I was heading out to get my doctorate, people said, well, why? You already have a good job. I said, I don't know, but God gave it to me. He told me years ago. I said, yeah, the job, that's wonderful. But God told me I was going to have a doctorate. So I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on what I felt I was being given. I felt that was given to me. And when you feel something is given to you, then you have to figure out how to work it, how to make it work for you. So my reason was right there. It says, when you have a reason, it says, then you have an explanation. When you have a reason, you have an argument. You have a reason, you have justification. You have a reason, you have a case. It's your case. You have a reason, you have an excuse. You have an account of what it is that you're going to do to carry out what it is you believe is just for you. It says you also have a defense and you have a plea. Like I always say, this is my plea. You can't make a plea for someone else. You can in the court system. Sometimes you can make a plea by going up and speaking in their behalf. But for the most part, you have to speak for yourself. You have to speak for yourself. That's it. That's it. So when we look at this whole word, which is, as I keep saying, it's a strange word, PHRONTISTERY. That's the word, okay? It is a place where you study and learn. And so many of us have done it. We've walked through those places, stayed in them a long time, got up, left the library, left the like a institution, left someplace. And we just go on about our business, not realizing that they actually had a name for the places that we were learning at, places where we were studying, other than library, okay? And then finally, my why of PHRONTISTERY is yield. How many of us yield to wanting to study? Hey, Volta, how are you? Happy New Year to you. And if I haven't said Happy New Year to everybody in and out of the stream, the thread, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming. But good morning, good morning. Never stop learning. Come on now. Never stop. We have to learn. We have to. I say yield. And sometimes it's hard for us to yield because the world says that we should be doing this. And sometimes we have to do this to feed back into ourselves. But the world says, come to this and that and the other thing. And sometimes you have to say, no, I have to figure out for myself what I need to do for me. And sometimes that's so hard for us because everyone's pulling us to come here, come there, do this, do that, be present. And I'm saying, how do we show up for ourselves? It says, I never had a job that I worked from home or would not be effective. Too many distractions. Well, let me tell you about me. The last, I think, 4 years of working for the government, I worked, first week I worked 3 days from home. Second week I worked 2 days from home, and I was off the 10th day. So it's 2 days, 2 weeks of 5 days for each week, but I worked longer days. And it didn't distract me. For some reason, it didn't. Well, and for me, let me put it this way. We had to have this thing called the CAC card. So the CAC card monitored how much work you were getting done, what you're putting in, what you're getting out, what suspenses you were meeting. Basically, that's what it was doing. I'm quite sure there's some people that knew how to get all around that. But for me, it worked. For others, I know it probably would be a distraction, but I don't know, my determination, Ardelia, is that if it's something I got to get done, I just have to get it done. I woke up this morning at 3:30, went to bed kind of early after I finally got in from all my running around, but I woke up And I said, this was a long tail word. I need to get busy. I need to get busy. And I did. I got busy. It took me a minute. And as I said, the only thing I didn't do was announce it on Facebook like I usually do, with some kind of cute little picture that just kind of pulls you in, if it will. But I appreciate you all coming. But when we yield to something, that means we've succumbed. We're done. We're not going to fight it. We believe that what has been given to us is workable, doable, and we should be a part of it. So it says, when we succumb, we give up and cease resistance. How many of us cease resistance and go just study the thing? Go get the work in, put the work in and get it done. It says that means we have a liking for it, and we can get around the temptations and realize that we can form a new habit. How many of us have tried to form new habits and it's difficult, you know? But if we decide to succumb, submit, surrender, bow in a sense, not to people, but bow in a sense where you're bowing out of stuff, not into stuff, out of stuff, giving in and conceding that in order for you to learn a new thing, you have to put time in to learn it. And the places that you may learn it at are called I'm looking at it again. Frontistery, which are basically rooms, schoolhouses, it could be a church, a church room, could be in your own closet. It's basically places where you learn new stuff, studying, learning, making it your own, making it where you can speak on it, do something with it, So I hope you like this word. It's a crazy word, but I kind of thought it was kind of cool. I'm always going to try to give you something. It's a little different. But I will be back on Monday. Really just happy that the new year is coming in just right. There's a lot of things I want to learn, a lot of things I want to do, a lot of things I want to work with you all with, and hoping you all like that. But I love you guys so much, and I appreciate you. Ardelia, you're just so sweet. And Ardelia knows I love sunflowers. And for those of you who have heard me before, I'm a sunflower person. So me and sunflowers, we work well together. And I can have them for 2 or 3 weeks because I do know how to take care of them now. I'm not good outside though. So the ones outside I can't do as well. But inside I've done really, really well. It seemed like the snow, the weather, I didn't say snow. Don't let us have no snow come Monday. But it seems like the weather in here, that either it's too hot or too cold. It just doesn't seem like they grow very well. But thank you for sharing this new word and breaking it down, making it easier to understand. I love you, girl. I love you. I love all of you. Listen, if you don't do anything else, hit the share button. Let it be shared. I'm trying to be a rising creator on Facebook, so y'all can help with that. That's all you have to do. You have to do nothing else, okay? And I will respond to you guys. And I thank you very much. I will see you on Monday. Have a safe. Actually, Monday's a holiday. I'm going to probably do the parade if I can handle the cold and my coldness settles down. But listen, what I want you to do is I'll see you Wednesday of next week, because Monday is a national holiday, and I want you all to do something on Monday that's related to the occasion of Martin Luther King. I know there's a lot of events going on, but I will see you soon, okay? Take care. Love you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.